SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Hello and welcome back to iGaming Daily. Today isn't just a normal episode, it's a special episode because it's number 600 of iGaming Daily today. We've now done 600 episodes in just over 2 years, and it's come at an opportune moment because for the last month we've been on our road to Lisbon as we build up to SBC Summit, which is now next week. We've had guests on from Christopher Coyne to Vlad Kaltenix, from Alex Roberts to Nicole Garrett. And now, joining us today is our headline sponsor, Optimove, whose VP of Revenue, Motti Coleman, joins our editor-at-large, Ted Menmuir, to discuss positionless marketing and what you can expect to see from Optimove in Lisbon next week. Now, iGaming Daily will be live in Lisbon next week, where you can expect to hear the latest developments and the biggest news stories driving the event. But in the meantime, enjoy today's episode. Ted Menmuir is joined by Optimove's VP of Revenue, Motti Coleman.
iGaming Daily is supported by Optimove, the creator of Positionless Marketing and the #1 player engagement platform. If you're heading to the SBC Summit Lisbon, mention iGaming Daily when you visit Optimove at stand A555 and get your first month free. Motti, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ted. How are you, mate?
Very well. So, you are kind of heading up the Optimove kind of delegation at the SBC Summit Lisbon. And I kind of want to begin by, reflecting on you and your tenure at Optimove, and how have you kind of witnessed the company become kind of the dominant marketing intelligence and CRM platform across multiple industries?
I witnessed it by sitting in horrible, dirty offices for the first 2 or 3 years with air conditioning that didn't work and a toilet whose sewage system left something to be questioned. We were a small startup with no money. And we worked very hard and we grinded a lot, and we were lucky to work with some really innovative operators at an early stage that took a punt on us. And we delivered a lot of value for them, and we were able to kind of grow off the back of that. And it took a while. We were unlike most tech companies. We were bootstrapped, or at least we were until 3 or 4 years ago or so. So kind of the majority of the early growth just took place from being pretty good at what we did and getting down and dirty, and doing a lot of traveling, which I did, and all the rest of it. But we're in a position today where it's slightly different. We've got a lot of outside funding. We grew a lot, and the business today is kind of a different beast. I think in my commercial organization, just for the iGaming part of the business, there's as many people in my organization as there was in the whole company when I joined. So, it's a different beast, but we work bloody hard. But also listen to what our clients were doing and what they needed from us, and adapted on the fly and got to where we are today.
And I remember, you came in there from William Hill. I think you were on the affiliates team. And one thing that Optimove's always highlighted is kind of that need for like intelligence, and intelligence at the forefront of marketing campaigns. And how did you and that team kind of visualize that early and try to kind of codify that or put that across for marketing at a time where it was much more kind of focused on acquisition, but not necessarily on other intelligence elements?
Yeah, you're right. And it was interesting coming from Hills because, like you said, I was doing a lot of work on the affiliation side in the UK market. And we used to get asked all the time by our affiliates, what can we as William Hill do to improve player value so that there's kind of, their rev share agreements that they had with us were much better, that they'd earn more as a result of it. And the answer was not very much, to be honest with you, at the time. And I think at the same time, Optimove was kind of starting to build and to create something special. Now, the reality is that a CRM platform, for want of a better term, there's many out there in the market, both inside and outside of gaming, that can help you build campaigns. Right, with all the same, they all have the same goal. They're trying to help businesses maximize player value through personalized marketing. So from that perspective, we don't do anything unique. But from our approach, we always have, and you kind of highlighted it there, which is around customer intelligence. Now, I remember from one of the first few weeks I had in the company, I went and sat with our head of strategic services, and I just peppered him with hundreds of questions. What CPAs are people paying? What player value are you getting in different markets across the various different products? What part of the customer journey is having the biggest impact on churn? When do you know that a customer is going to disappear? When do you know that a customer is going to be a VIP? We've always had all of this amazing information that sits inside, because that's kind of always been our approach. Was we're hyper focused on customer behavior. And so what I did was I took all of that information and tried to turn it into white paper, into really meaningful insight. And I remember very early on, in fact, at SBC, one of the early SBC conferences, the betting on football one, giving a talk on how you can maximize your return on investment from customers you acquire going into a World Cup. Now, that as like a piece of strategy, a piece of CRM strategy, how do you target different customers in a different way based on their betting behavior over the month of the World Cup to ensure that all the money that you spend on acquisition going into it actually returns? So there's just a lot of very deep insights that exists. We've always thought about the customer from that perspective, and I've really tried to take that approach when selling to other businesses to show them what kind of insight that they can gain as a result of working with us.
Yeah, and I kind of want to move on to that focus of you guys displaying at the SBC Summit. It's been 10 years. And what kind of ruptures have you seen in marketing with regards to the online gambling sector? And where do you think that the capabilities of Optimove have moved from its kind of platform perspective?
Yeah. So I kind of highlighted the thing that everybody does, which is maximize player value through personalized campaign management. Like, if I had to condense our industry into one phrase, it would be that. But the way that people have approached it have been slightly differently. And like I said, we always came at it from a customer intelligence perspective. Other businesses came into the mix and they attacked it from the channel. Okay, so they were very good at getting the last leg, so the actual message into the customer. Other businesses came and said, "Fine, we're going to do it from a real-time perspective." Mm-hmm. Right. So for probably the first 5 or 6 years that I was at Optimove, we didn't have any channels. Right. We didn't really do much on real time. The whole idea of customer intelligence is all built around taking batch historical data, which gives you the whole lifetime of the customer up until today. And that historical rich data allows us to very deeply understand who the customer is. But we didn't at the time do very much about what the customer's doing right now in the moment. So other businesses came and said, right, what's the customer doing right now? Like I said, other businesses came and said, how do I get the message to the customer? More recently, other businesses have come into the picture and said, gamification, right? How do I actually make sure I'm looking after the customer if they're on the platform, or making sure that I'm maximizing the amount of activity that they're doing through gamifying the experience. So there's been different ways that other businesses have kind of attacked that. And we as Optimove, we've been around the longest and we've got a fair bit of ammunition, and we're able to buy or build. And depending on where we've seen the market moving, that's kind of what we've done over the years. So yeah, there's been a lot of different innovative ways that other businesses and Optimove as well have kind of attacked the market, but everyone's still ultimately solving the same underlying problem, which is that sort of player value maximization.
And how do you think kind of those early experiences and those kind of early commercial opportunities, how do you think they've played into kind of Optimove's mantra of kind of positionless marketing, which, your CEO is kind of Binny's driving at the moment, and trying to kind of tell to customers that, you can no longer kind of think in these boxes. Everything has to be much more fluid. Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's a really interesting space, because the concept of a positionless marketer, or rather the phraseology of positionless marketer, is something that we've coined over the last year. Yeah. And we've got, Pinny's really running with that, and we're taking it, we're owning it. We're owning that as a message. And we were also the first to do it. But it's not new that we're doing it. We've been doing this in some way, shape or form for the last 12 years, which is to say that, even if I go back 12 years ago, a CRM manager historically would only have the ability to send a campaign. But if they wanted to know who the customer was, or which group of customers should appear in this particular segment. They would have to write a JIRA request to the BI team and wait 5 days until the BI team pulled a list and then said, and then if they wanted to analyze how a campaign had performed, they'd have to get that list, go back to the analysis team. And, I remember sitting with somebody very high up in the industry a number of years ago, and he said to me, I've got an army of data analysts that sit at the end of the corridor and the door's locked and no one gets in and no information gets out. I was just blown away. I was just blown away by that, right? So this idea of a positionless marketer is to break down those walls effectively. And what we've always done is we've given the power to the hand of the marketer to be able to handle as much of the process as they can possibly do themselves. So they can do anything. They can be anything. They can be all parts of this journey. Now, when you add AI into the mix as well, what that has allowed the CRM manager to do, the marketing person to do, is to actually take control of the messaging, to take control of the content, and take control of the image, and actually themselves again be able to do that final leg of the journey as well. So positionless marketing, I think, has always existed. It's something that we pioneered. We've certainly pioneered the phrasing of it, and I think that with kind of the impact of AI, it's kind of completed the circle.
So I want to kind of get onto AI and kind of your kind of AI components and what you're building on kind of stage 2. But I want to kind of refocus on something like you were saying as kind of a VP of revenue, and what are kind of prospects and clients coming up to you? I mean, what is frustrating them now with regards to kind of modern day marketing? And especially because we're seeing kind of much more compliance, and this is not just for gaming, but across the board in how you approach the customer online, his rights to engage with your product.
I think there's a few things. The first is to have a holistic experience as a customer that goes across CRM, but also into product, right? Which is to say that if I'm on the product, I want to make sure that the experience that I'm seeing with the brand is actually personalized. So I'm seeing the games that are right for me. I'm receiving the betting markets that are right for me, all that kind of stuff. So it used to just be that CRM was the only part of the journey that was personalized. But when I would come on the site, I'd be seeing the same thing as everybody else would, which isn't, I mean, we live in a Netflix era and have done for a very long time. So that's not, it shouldn't be something that's so pie in the sky, but maybe those two things weren't necessarily linked. So kind of having this consistent experience that the customer's got both online and offline, I think has been a very big part of it. And then the other thing is the silos, because like I said, with the sort of data analysis, as businesses grow and they end up adding more teams, that's kind of natural, and you have different people that do a variety of different things. And our biggest clients that we work with, although historically I always thought that the most amazing thing that Optimove did was drive player value, because the personalization was sort of, allowing us to focus on the best customers for the right campaign. Although that's definitely upside that's created by it. Actually, our biggest clients experience the biggest benefit through operational efficiency. And being able to bring all the various different teams under one roof. And so this goes back to this idea of positionless marketing. Like, when I hear our clients like Kindred, 365, Entertainment, businesses like that are talking to us about the way that their marketing divisions now operate, as a result of working with Optimove, and the power that each of their individual reps, each of their individual staff have got to be able to accomplish the variety of different tools. That operational efficiency, when you extrapolate it across the business, is enormous.
So mostly really well explained. We're just going to head into a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of Optimove's next day innovations and having kind of these conversations with customers. Thank you.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
And welcome back, and we're joined by Motti Coleman, VP of Revenue at Optimove. So, Motti, heading into Lisbon, and you've highlighted kind of 3 expert panels at the SBC Summit that you want to focus on. Can you take us through them?
Yes, I can. And before I do, one thing that I'm most excited about is that I'm not appearing on any of the panels myself, which isn't to say that I don't enjoy it, but I've been doing them for a very long time. And one of the big things I've been trying to push my team for this year is that they all get a bit more exposure and their faces are out there. So I'm very happy to say that I won't be on any of those panels personally. We've got one looking at AI-powered CRM, which I think, we kind of touched upon before the ad break there. And there's so much to be done in this world. And it obviously really leans into this whole idea of the positionless marketer that we keep talking about, and this idea to put more power in the fingertips of the individual CRM managers, the individual marketing team, to be much more efficient with the way that they work. So I think that kind of anything around AI at the moment, I think the biggest angle there, or certainly the one that we'll probably focus on the most, is around this efficiency and empowering the individual. So that's a really interesting one to be on. And then we're also going to be doing one looking at cracking the APAC mobile gaming market. And I think that's also really interesting as well. APAC's been a market that I've always found a little bit complex and difficult to break into. But it's an area that we've certainly spent the last 12, 18 months focusing on a lot more. I've had a few trips out there, and we're just really trying to understand what goes on in that market. We've always been very, very blessed that because we have kind of massive global clients, we see a huge amount of the data that takes place in basically every single market. And so even kind of before we understand the market, we get all of the data on it. And then with the data, we tend to analyze it and build benchmarking analysis. So usually when we go into these markets, we're quite well armed. So we're going to be sort of focusing on that a little bit more. And then the final panel that we're looking at is the sweepstakes boom. And that's just another area that's just fascinating. I did a podcast with you guys a couple of months ago on this as well, and we've done quite a huge amount of analysis on the way that customers are playing and performing inside of the sweepstakes market. I looked at kind of the differences between the sweepstakes market versus the regulated online casino states in the US and how customers are performing, and there's some CRM ideas and strategy around that. So 3 very different but very interesting talks that we're going to be entering, but I won't be speaking on.
Okay, but I do want your thoughts on, well, what I feel are kind of the 2 kind of keywords dominating kind of industry tech dialogue at the moment, whether you like them or not, but, AI enhancement and AI automation and localization. Yeah. So if I can start with AI, look, this is a technology that's fundamentally kind of changing the strategic course of operators in all businesses. And, I know that, I'm speaking to Penny about this, but how challenging it is from, your role as VP of Revenue. How are you kind of having like difficult conversations with clients about AI?
Well, I think the first thing is that everybody wants to know what it is that you're doing, right? Everybody's very, very curious about the way that you as a business adapt to AI, and everybody wants to be seen to be using it as well at the moment. I can tell you from an internal perspective, one of the key pillars of our business, forget the product that we produce, but how we as a business operate, we've hired an AI specialist onto the management team this year to help push AI into everything about the way that we as a business operate. So we take it very seriously for ourselves and also for our clients as well. The interesting part for us is that, kind of whilst AI has become the thing over the last couple of years, and that's because people really started to understand that ChatGPT was something that they could use. I'm 42. My degree at Birmingham University 23 years ago was supposed to be maths and AI. 23 years ago, I didn't do it in the end because I couldn't fathom doing it, but that was what I was supposed to be doing a degree in 23 years ago. So AI as a concept is not new. And from an Optimove perspective, we've been utilizing AI inside the platform for many, many years through a lot of the predictive modeling algorithms that we've built and the self-learning mechanisms inside the tool that always helped our clients optimize the treatment of the specific campaigns for the right customers. The layman or the CRM manager, the people that are using it wouldn't have necessarily realized that was the case. And I certainly didn't talk about it from that perspective, but we as a business have been utilizing AI for many, many years. Where it becomes more relevant today is it kind of in the way that a marketing manager, from a CRM perspective, it's many different applications, but the way that the CRM manager can use it today is to be able to write the content for multiple messages and do it via a prompt rather than doing it, via writing out hundreds and hundreds of messages. And kind of actually the biggest bottleneck in personalization has always been the ability to create multiple pieces of content. I mean, you can have 1,000 segments, but if you're sending 1,000 segments the same email, then you're effectively doing the same job for all of them. It's kind of regardless. So actually the segmentation part of personalization has been solved a long time ago, or attempted to be solved a long time ago, but actually the ability to drive the content, the bonusing, the visualization, kind of all of that stuff hasn't been solved because it just creates a massive amount of legwork. AI has been a very, very big factor in helping to solve that problem. And so we've brought AI into the tool so that our clients can actually utilize it, and they can be much more efficient with the way that they look after the multiple messaging that's generated or that's required as a result of the deep segmentation that they create.
And yeah, I mean, one thing that I kind of want to explore with you is how does kind of AI then connect with that need for localization, and especially localization in new markets, be it APAC or Brazil or South America or LATAM.
Yeah.
And do you have to have a careful balance because, there's localization, but there's also kind of very lazy localization.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you kind of avoid that via kind of AI powered structures?
Well, the first thing to say is that the people come first. I take Brazil as an example. We've invested heavily in Brazil. We have a Brazilian entity as a business, and we have a number of people on the ground that's ever expanding, from sales through to account management, customer success, local marketing people. And they drive the localized strategy for the business. So while I have a very high level idea of what I want to achieve there, how we're actually going about doing that, it comes from the people on the ground. And we've done the same. Obviously, we did the same in North America as soon as PASPA came. And we've done the same in Spanish speaking Latin America. We'll do the same in APAC. And that's kind of always been our approach, is that if we have the right people on the ground and we let them create a bottom-up strategy, and actually have our ears open and listen to that, then we'll get the right information from the people in telling us exactly what's going on there. So actually, I really think that it comes from people that know what they're talking about, and I'd like to believe that the ones that we've hired do. So so far so good. So
Motti, I'm going to give the floor over to you and just take us away. I mean, why should delegates come to the Optimove stand at the SBC Summit? And can you also tell us something that they won't particularly know about Optimove, but that always surprises you about your business?
Yeah. So look, this year at SBC, I've lost track a little bit of what it is that we're doing. I feel like, that scene in Fight Club where Tyler Durden realizes that he's running around to all these different cities and there's a Fight Club that happened the day before and yet he's the one that founded it and he doesn't know what's going on. So that's kind of how I feel a little bit about what we're doing at SBC this year. I think we've got a breakfast that we're hosting for the gamification piece that we have. We have a golf day before. We have a bunch of different dinners. We have the booth. I'm going to the exec day. We're going to the football on the Monday night. So we kind of got like so many of these different things that are happening. So the first thing to say is that you can find us anywhere, right? So if you can't come to a meeting at the booth, come to the breakfast. You can't come to the breakfast, come and play golf. If you can't play golf, maybe I'll see you at the exec day or at the football. And I actually think the sort of the interesting thing that we're looking at this year is our gamification piece. So, I'm mature enough to admit that we were a little bit behind the curve on that. We partnered. We knew that it was a thing. We understood that it was a very important thing the operators were looking at, and as a tie into CRM as well. And we partnered with some really, really good businesses to be able to achieve that for our clients. And there was a very good integrations between us and a bunch of different gamification partners. But the reality is that we needed to bring it in house, and so. Right at the turn of the year, we bought a very, very cool company called Adapt. And Adapt's already out, and our clients, plenty of our clients are using it, and there's a lot of really, really easy to build branded free to play games. But that will form, I think, a pretty key part of what we present at SBC this year, certainly from the perspective of being new. I mean, the reality is that, you know, most operators, I wouldn't say all, of course, but most operators know who we are and know what we're about. So coming to the market with something that's a little bit fresh and new is always helpful. And maybe people don't realize that we've got a very, very interesting gamification piece now that's part of the Optimove suite, but we do. And so if you're interested in it, please feel free to come and check it out.
Motti, thank you so much. And thank you for showcasing that. Optimove, they're always going to bring intelligence first to the industry. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.